Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Welcome into Cards Cover 2. Lisa Matthews here with you, filling in once again for Craig Grialou alongside the one, the only Mike Jurecki. However you're joining us, wherever you're joining us, thanks for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us. MJ, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, and I know that you were live and local last night covering the Kyler Murray first pitch, and we're going to get some video there. How was it?
It was a lot of fun. It was good times. It was nice.
22.
It was good to see the D-backs too live, and also the first round pick for the Coyotes was out there, so it was good.
Yeah, and there were 22 rookies there.
Yes, 22.
And I thought Darren wrote a good story. You can go to azcardinals.com where, you know, obviously Murray being the first pick in the draft and the only player ever was drafted in the first round in two sports, which we'll get into, is really he didn't want to make it about himself. And so it looks like all his teammates had a good time. And they're ready to get out of here for a few weeks.
He didn't want all the attention on himself.
He gets a lot of attention, though.
All right, it's time to take off on this Wednesday afternoon. Here's what's ahead on the show for today. Like we were just talking about, Kyler Murray takes the mound, get a behind-the-scenes look at his first pitch last night at the D-backs game. MJ's breaking down his 53-man roster, the offense edition. Wide receiver A.J. Richardson out of Boise State joins the show, and of course, we are taking your questions, your comments throughout the show. I see you, I hear you, I am looking at the feed right now, so please be a part of the conversation for today. Of course, we have some fans from Australia checking in, the Netherlands. It's good to see Cardinals fans all around the world.
Very nice. Sounds like we're talking soccer, though.
I know.
But they have a lot of great fans. I know when you guys went to London and a lot of fans there, and obviously Cardinal fans have done a great job over the last couple of years when it comes to maybe IDing one or two road games. And don't forget, you can purchase tickets on azcardinals.com/tickets because single game tickets are available, which is very unusual. In previous years, usually you wait around training camp.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get into the news of the day. Like we were talking about, Kyler Murray, he makes his return to the baseball field last night, throwing out the first pitch before the D-backs Dodgers game. And MJ, he didn't really get too fancy with it. I know we were talking about it on Monday on the show, just is he going to throw a heat or a fastball? He actually admitted he's never really pitched before, being a first-round draft pick in baseball, but, you know, he's an outfielder, so we have to give him a little credit on that. He just wanted to make it to home plate.
Yeah, and because he had the Victor Strostrom, I think was. Soderstrom, thank you, from the
that's correct.
From the it's correct. Okay. From the Coyotes, he was 11th overall. So normally one guy get a chance. It sounds like the ground crew doesn't want you to stand on the mound.
Yes.
But you can stand in front of the mound. But obviously when you have two guys throwing, you get two different catchers, and it was obviously pretty predictable that Archie Bradley was going to be his catcher, former Oklahoma quarterback. But I thought the kid was pretty clever with the hockey stick with the ball.
That was cool.
Yeah, because he's never thrown a baseball, let alone going out there and trying to throw a first pitch in front of X amount of people.
Next to Kyler Murray.
Anyways, but Murray said he was never a pitcher. Usually when you're the best player at 5, 7, 10 years old, you're either a pitcher or a shortstop. But obviously he was a guy that can do a lot of things, but he was drafted to play outfield.
He's just a pure athlete, so you expect.
It's like you just start to wonder, like Patrick Peterson and sometimes Larry Fitzgerald. It's like anything they can do, whether it's a different sport. Obviously, Larry struggled on ice skates, but Patrick
from Minnesota too.
Yeah, and Patrick he started picking up golf when he got drafted here, and he's one of the better golfers on the team, like Larry. So it's just like some guys have all the luck.
I wanted to see him take part in a batting practice. That would have been cool.
Yeah, get there a little bit early.
I know he wanted to too.
Did he?
Yeah, he had mentioned it. We'll see. Well,
he's got plenty of time. But hey,
does.
Listen. Kyler, we know that you like baseball and obviously you grew up playing baseball, but you are committed to the National Football League.
He sure is. We will get more into that later on in the show. But first, we captured the night from the moment that all 22 rookies arrived at Chase Field to watch their quarterback give out the first pitch. Here's a behind-the-scenes look at his night with the D-backs.
to finally meet you, bro.
Nice to meet you. Yes, sir. You good?
Let's go. I'm great, man. I'm excited to meet you.
Of course, a very special pregame ceremony here. Kyler Murray, first round pick of your Arizona Cardinals. They will throw out the first pitch.
How excited are you to be here and do this and get some love from the Arizona fans?
Exciting time for me. My first time out here, being in Arizona now, obviously, I'm a fan of the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I'm the hitting coach, Eric Hinsky, man.
I couldn't get any hacks today. I was trying.
Let's go right now, man. It's wide open.
Just excited to throw out the first pitch here with my fellow rookies, having a fun time. I gotta make sure I get it to the plate.
The 2019 first round picks.
There it was, a night with the D-backs. Obviously a lot of attention about, okay, drafted in the MLB out here. But he was for sure a football player throwing out a first pitch there.
Yeah, I mean, but again, a lot of people that get to the professional level, they always tell parents, have your kids play multiple sports. Now, obviously, if your strength is maybe baseball, football, or basketball, you kind of want to focus on that, but you don't want to get burnt out, and you want to have different muscle memory when it comes to different parts of your body. And he'll be the first to tell you, I don't know if it was 4 or 5, but that's where his father, Kevin, taught him how to throw a football and a baseball. And you could just see when he throws a football or a baseball, I mean, it really comes out of his hand. But, I think when you consider yourself the first pick in the draft, yes, $35 million guaranteed. Baseball, I'm sure he would have got a chance to play in the big leagues maybe in the first year. Who knows? You never know with the A's. But, it would have been a process for him. It's not like he would have stepped in and been Mike Trout. I'm not saying he would have been a great baseball player, but, obviously his dream was to play in the NFL. And you got a chance, we're going to hear about a little bit later, when you were on the flight back after he was drafted, you got a chance to talk to his parents, and you can really find out that he's really committed to football.
Yeah. Now we have a top fan on Facebook, Dale Shepard. He just posed the question: how many quarterbacks were drafted number 1 in football and baseball? First round.
Only him.
Only him.
There was John Elway.
And we were going through the list this morning in show prep.
Yeah, John Elway was one. Jameis Winston, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson, but none of those guys were first-round picks.
Yeah, quite the accomplishment. So I had a chance to chat with Murray following his first pitch because I was just curious, what was it like for him being back at the baseball park, a place where he devoted much of his childhood to? Take a look. You just threw out your first pitch. What was your pitch of choice?
I was just trying to make it to the plate, honestly. It's been a while since I've thrown the baseball, so it kind of stayed in my hand a little longer than I'd like to, but I'm just glad I hit it over the plate.
So did you have a lot of extra expectations or pressure, being that you should probably throw a strike out there and just leading up to this?
To my defense, I never pitched.
Right?
Baseball is one of those things that if I were to throw it hard, I feel like I would have done better, but I just chose to lob it up there, so it was good.
What is it like just having the rest of the rookie class here supporting you on a day like today?
No, it's good. It's fun. I don't really want to make this a day about me. This is really a day for all of us to just come and be with the community, get to see the fans, and enjoy a baseball game. So.
Does being back on the baseball field just strike any emotion from you, being such a big part of your life? It doesn't have to mean much. Just strike the emotion of.
I'd say, yeah. Obviously. I've been playing the game since I was 4 years old, so. Being in the locker room, getting to see all the guys, the uniform, the dirt, all of it, yeah, no doubt, for sure. Like I said, I've been doing it my whole life, but I'm playing football now, so.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So what did it mean to you just to have the Diamondbacks give you a call and say they wanted you to come out?
It meant a lot. Me being a Cardinal now, being in Arizona, being a part of the state, I'm a fan now, so just knowing that I have their support is it's always welcoming, always great to have, so. Hopefully, we can do something special here.
Have you been able to just put into perspective the history that you made being drafted first round, MLB, NFL, or is that something for the future that you'll be able to really?
I think that's a future thing. Okay. I'm only 21, so it kind of doesn't really
perspective,
hit.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It doesn't really hit me right now. Right now I'm in the moment, so maybe when I'm 50 or 60 and I they're talking about it on SportsCenter, and I'll be able to say that that's something. I was the first person to do that, so it's a pretty big accomplishment. I know that.
Well, good job out there.
Thank you.
It's just crazy to me, MJ, how he hasn't really grasped that accomplishment. I mean, perspective, he said it himself, he's 21. All of us are in awe. But for him, it's something later on in life that he'll be able to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his high school record, I mean, he was highly recruited. He was successful in college. And, obviously you put the right talent around the right protection, he's going to be successful in the NFL. Mm-hmm. I think he's been the best athlete everywhere he's been in life. And so this is nothing new to him. And, I like Baker Mayfield as a quarterback, and I think some of his teammates gravitate to his personality and his savvy, but he's more arrogant. Kyler Murray is not arrogant. He's confident, and it's not too big for him. And I think Cliff pointed that out at the NFL owners meeting, said he's been waiting for this opportunity for his entire life. His family has prepared him for that. So, I mean, again, there's going to be some growing pains from a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback, but I think the learning curve is going to be much better than a lot of rookie quarterbacks that get drafted, because he's been playing in the same system since he was 15 years old, and that's going to be a huge advantage for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, and you talked about his dad and the role that he's played in his life. Like you mentioned early in the show, myself, Grant Greeley, we had a chance to fly back with the Murrays the day after he was drafted, Friday morning, and here's an interview that was just kind of sitting on the cutting room floor, never made it to Flight Plan, our series on Facebook and azcardinals.com, but I just wanted to get their perspective on that big decision in his life, so here's what they had to say about the decision.
It wasn't until Kyler slightly made a comment that, the world keeps asking me which one I want to choose. Right. Because I love both sports. I really do. And he really does. He has a passion for both sports. But he said it's more of a matter, Mom, of having to let one go. So when I finally heard him say those words, I was just like, it kind of hurt me, because I was like, it's not a choice. It's just come to a point where you can't do both. Yeah. You got to let one go. So that whole process was, we could just kind of, he had to make it. Right. We let him make all his decisions. We just kind of are there for questions and answers. And,
support, basically.
Yeah.
Like he said in the Nike video, I mean, this is what he does. This is what his passion's at. You know what I mean? This is
he loves
drives him. There's nothing like football. Baseball is a great sport, I mean, it's a great sport. It served a great purpose for him. Learned a tremendous amount. It's such a humbling sport because failure rate is so high. But football is just a different animal.
Yeah, to listen to a couple of him and his former high school teammates sit around and talk about it. They were like trying to explain it to me. Yeah. I was like, but they were like, the adrenaline is going to see once you get on the field.
There's nothing like it. There's absolutely nothing like it.
You're on high, and team camaraderie, and all that kind of the brotherhood, and so for them, it's another level of, I don't know. I can't explain it because I've never been an athlete. That's why I was asking them.
Yeah, it's just,
when they told me about it, I could just see the glow in their faces.
It's the ultimate team sport.
America's game.
I can't even. I mean, it's the sport. I mean, it's right here.
Yeah.
It's right here, and that's where it's at with him. It's right here. He's born for this.
Yes.
He's born for it. He's put in more time. I mean, even though he played baseball at every level growing up, he put 3 times as much work into football as he did baseball. And from an investment standpoint, 80% of his time was put into football, 20% of his time was put into baseball.
Now, an interesting thing about that is his dad, actually, you probably know the story as well, but his dad had to make the same exact decision. He was drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in the 11th round, I think in 82. Fall of 83, he's a quarterback, Texas A&M. He chose football ultimately. He went undrafted, played a little bit for the 49ers and in Canada, ended up becoming a great mentor, a great coach. But you can imagine seeing your son go through the same steps, and we asked him about that a lot. I mean, you have to follow in here as he was describing in your heart what you're passionate about ultimately, and it looks like Kyler did.
Yeah, and according to Kingsbury, he thinks, working with Kevin over the years, he's probably one of the better quarterback coaches in the country, and, he keeps a small circle, and I think that's a good thing. And, for the most part, I mean, just listening to the parents, 80% committed to football during growing up and 20% to baseball. That's pretty impressive. He gets drafted in the first round in both sports. But just listening to them, if you're on the fence or maybe you're on the fence, and I'm sure, based on the CBA rules about him getting out of his contract, I don't think we have to worry about that. And the good news is he's under contract for the next 5 years. And if he's the guy everyone think he's going to be here for a long, long time. So
and 100% focus
on football.
On football. Coach has talked about it before, just what the potential is now just to be able to focus solely on football.
One job where last year at this time we thought he was playing baseball. And then until he obviously put up big numbers at Oklahoma, and then he decided to declare on February 11th. And obviously the Cardinals had hired Kingsbury prior to that. Then he goes to the combine, weighs 5'10" and an eighth, and then the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. And there's possibly more to celebrate for his parents. Did you see this? He's up for Best College Athlete at the ESPYs on July 10th.
Yeah, he's got some tough competition. Obviously, you look at the two collegiate sports, Zion Williamson from Duke. Now, they didn't win the national championship. Right. And then you have Kyler Murray. Obviously, they played well. He played really well. He won the Heisman that year. And then you got a couple others from college and in different schools. So we'll see when it comes to voting, obviously fan voting and, passionate fan bases. But you got to think either Duke or Oklahoma may win that award.
All right, we're broadcasting from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center in our Bose QC35s. Just a reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts can be found at Arizona Cardinals, azcardinals.com/podcasts. Now, on Monday's show, we threw out various off-season superlatives. Now, today, we have MJ breaking down his projection for the 53-man roster on the offensive side of the ball. So, MJ, show us what you got.
All right. So, normally, you do a projection, and it's really hard to get all 53 going into training camp. Injuries, other teams release players. A lot of times over the last couple of years, undrafted free agents make the roster. And, the Cardinals have the first overall claim when it comes to the waiver wire until week 4. And then it goes based on records. So it's always fluid. It's just a projection. Obviously, they have put the pads on and guys separate themselves. But I think for the most part, we know the names and we'll go through it. So I have the Cardinals. If I break down the 53-man roster, I have the Cardinals going 26 on offense. We'll get into defense coming up next. We got 24 defensive players and, of course, 3 special teams. Now it's always a numbers game. How many players do you keep at certain positions? So for the quarterback position, I'm only have them keeping 2, Kyler Murray and Brett Hundley. We'll get into some options possibly for the practice squad. I do think you got to have one on the practice squad that run the scout team, but Murray's going to get the majority of the reps, and we know Hundley has NFL experience working behind guys like Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Running backs, I think it's a lock with David Johnson and Chase Edmonds. Where does DJ Foster fit in the mix? And then TJ Logan's a speed guy. Is he more involved in special teams? So I have them keeping 4. Curious to see if anyone slides in the practice squad. When we look at a guy like Strickland, who has a body and size of a guy like David Johnson. Wide receiver is going to be, stiff competition in training camp. Mm-hmm. Right now I have him keeping 7. I think David Rice pushing for 8, but we'll see how it shakes out. Under Bruce Arians, they would keep 5 or 6. You can't dress as many as those guys on game day. So after Fitz, I got Kirk, Keyshawn Johnson, Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, Demir Bird, and I'm going to go Trent Sherfield over Farrell Cooper. The reason I'm going with Sherfield, he plays on all teams. And, again, there's going to be about 4 or 5 guys that play on that. I didn't have Chad Williams in there and obviously Kevin White. But, Lisa, we talked about competition. I guess we'll see what happens in camp.
Yeah, that is going to be a tight room there. And I like having Trent Sherfield there. I think coming back, seeing him in OTAs, he looked the most improved as far as his physique. He's been working out a lot with Christian Kirk. Having a guy like Christian Kirk to follow, they are tied to the hip. So I really like him on the list. And then Bird, he's looked good.
Yeah, he really has. He's got a lot of speed, and that's something that, the Cardinals will definitely have to, have on offense along with Isabella. Tight ends, Charles Clay was a nice signing in the offseason. We'll see if he can stay healthy. He missed some time in the offseason. Max Williams was a really good pickup from the Vikings. He's a guy that can both block and catch the ball like Clay. And then Ricky Seals-Jones, he's built like a wide receiver. I think he can flourish in Kingsbury's offense. He's going to have to block sometimes. He'll play on teams. So I think they'll keep 3 there. Again, we could see 1 go on the practice squad. As for the offensive line, normally you keep 9 or 10. I think the Cardinals have 18 offensive linemen. Normally you go to camp with 15. You want to have 3 different, first string, second string, and third string. So on the line left across the board, I got DJ Humphries, Justin Pugh. I'm going to have Shipley as a starter now because of experience. Again, Kugler's going to make the best decision.
Okay.
Then I got Sweezy, Gilbert, Mason Cole, Corey Cunningham, Garcia, Jeremy Vivinovich, and then Reese Ohambo. Reese Ohambo is playing left tackle, so he would be your backup. Now, I think Cunningham could be the swing tackle. So I didn't put any of the draft picks in there, but I do think some of those guys can slide on the practice squad. So if you add it up, according to my Niagara Falls math, that's 26 players on offense. Again, it depends on certain positions. So let's look at some bubble guys. I think Farrell Cooper's going to get a chance to make this roster. He was a waiver claim last year from the Rams. He's a guy that can return punts, kicks, and he can also stretch the field a little bit. So, again, he's going to have to beat some of those guys out unless they want to put Sherfield Beddock on the practice squad. Then you got Desmond Harrison, who was picked up from the Cleveland Browns. He's an offensive tackle. I asked somebody earlier today, what do you guys think about him? He said, we just don't have enough film on him. He just got here, so he's going to have to turn some heads in training camp. And then you look at Lamont Gilliard, an offensive guard, offensive tackle from Georgia. If he doesn't make the 53, I think clearly if he clears the waiver wire, I think he'd be a great option for the practice squad. And then you got Josh Miles from Oregon State. He could be a sleeper. Then you got a guy like Drew Belcher, who, if he doesn't make the 53-man roster, I think he's got a chance to be on the practice squad. And then you got Strickland, the running back from Syracuse. He's kind of built like David Johnson. Now, Chad Kanoff is in camp with Drew Anderson. Drew Anderson, to me, has a stronger arm. Obviously, I think Kingsbury likes what he sees. Best case scenario for him, he's going to get a chance to play a lot in the preseason, but I think he's a practice squad guy. And, again, if you're released on the 53-man roster, you have to clear waivers. So the Cardinals will have to be careful and make sure they get some of these guys back. But, again, this is the offense, and that means I'll have 24 on defense and special teams.
Coming up on Monday, most likely, correct?
Yeah. So any of those bubble guys you think can, maybe create a roster spot?
We do have a fan here, Elijah Hemingway. He says, going to need a third quarterback. So you see them only keeping 2 on the active.
Yeah, I mean, you can't afford to dress 3 on game day. Arians never kept 3 unless Palmer and Stanton went down. That's just the NFL. I mean, some teams will keep 3 because they're protecting a young draft pick, but for the most part, you can slide a guy.
And I think that's what fans in the past, they want to see.
Yeah, they're only going to keep 2.
Right.
And that allows you to keep 7 receivers, possibly, and 10 offensive linemen.
Yeah, and you're right. David Wright, he wants as many receivers as...
He's pushing 8.
He's pushing 8. So I think 7, you're right on that. And in just a few minutes, we're going to have undrafted free agent rookie wide receiver A.J. Richardson join the show. So he's another guy that he's fighting for a spot on this roster as well. Yeah, and he's a guy we're going to get a chance to talk to him, and he really reminds me of Anquan Bolden. No, I'm not comparing. I'm just talking size-wise and hands and physicality. 6 feet, about 212 pounds, and that was similar size to Bolden. Of course, Bolden was a second-round pick, but I do see some similar traits. Now, today on azcardinals.com, Darren Urban released an article, and we kind of got into this on Monday's show, but he broke down his starting 11. Now, I see you had a little change in your lineup with Shipley. It goes either way. Okay. I think, the fact, I could put Cole in there, but I think Shipley just experience. If we had a veteran quarterback, I think it'd be a little bit different. See, I was thinking I convinced you. Well, no. not necessarily, but again, I can change it going into camp. I think it's going to be fluid. It's going to be fluid, and trust me, they need both guys because of injuries, and it creates a lot of depth on the position. So in his article, he obviously has Kyler Murray, David Johnson, Fitz, Kurt, Andy Isabella, Charles Clay, Humphries, Pugh, Shipley, Sweezy, Marcus Gilbert. Yeah, I don't have Isabella as high, but again, once they get the pads on, he can separate himself. I just think Keyshawn Johnson's a guy that's really flashed so far. And, I think Hakeem Butler, and we'll see what Kevin White does. But
I think it's a good dilemma. Obviously, the Cardinals tried to flood the position, so we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, be sure to head to azcardinals.com tomorrow, and he'll post his predictions, Darren Urban, for defense, his starting 11. Now, just a reminder, as we announced on Monday, Cards Camp begins Thursday, July 25th at State Farm Stadium. Here's the list of dates for open practices. Of course, admission and parking is free. Stay tuned on all our social media channels for announcements on special festivities throughout camp. And of course, we'd love to see you out there, especially that red and white practice. Always a good time for fans. It's a fan favorite there. But first, obviously, comes camp, and then comes the regular season. So that's vastly approaching. Be sure to head to azcardinals.com/tickets to punch your ticket to the season opener September 8th. It's coming up fast.
Yeah, and that's 14 open practices. Last year we had 9, and a couple teams around the league. Philadelphia only has 1. As mentioned the other day that they actually practice at the facility.
The fans have it made. That's a lot of open practices, especially for a first-time head coach.
Exactly, and then the Jets will have 5, and I guess the Broncos have 19 because they're playing in that Hall of Fame game. So obviously teams that are playing in that Hall of Fame game, they get an extra week of training camp. Good for them.
I don't miss that.
The dreaded 5 preseason games.
I do not miss that. All right, the Cardinals do great work in the community, and now they are asking you, the fans, to get involved in honor of its 100th season. The NFL is inviting fans to join the Cardinals players, and other teams in a volunteer initiative called Huddle for 100. The goal for the campaign is for NFL fans to donate 100 million minutes of time to help shape what our communities will look like for the next 100 years. Those fans that do donate will be entered for a chance to win a VIP experience at the Super Bowl in Miami and other great prizes. Head to azcardinals.com/Cardinals Huddle for 100. All right, now joining the show is undrafted free agent signing wide receiver A.J. Richardson from Boise State. Thank you for joining us here today. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Just talk us through what the last couple months have been like for you, kind of the whirlwind of going undrafted and now ending up here fighting for a spot on the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, one, I think is definitely a blessing just to be here right now. It's a lot of people, that would want to be, in this position I'm in right now. So at least I can say I'm thankful, just to be on the team. But it was pretty good. I got that call. I was excited, come up here, talked a little bit with them, before. And so just to be up here right now is, like you said, just a blessing. So I'm just trying to home it all in, learn from the vets and all.
All right, before we talk about what you did in college at Boise State, we get to the 6th and 7th round. Were your phone ringing where teams wanted to bring you in as an undrafted free agent? And why did you pick the Cardinals?
Really, I think it was really just the first one. Like I said, I think the best relationship with them. I know the coach is doing pretty good. I knew, it just felt like I was kind of wanted more, here. And so, just got that call, and my agent felt good about it. I felt good about it. So I just took one with it.
And what's it been like for you?
It's been pretty cool. Like I said, different, just being in Arizona heat-wise, being in Boise. Last time I was over there, it's kind of, cold. But, yeah, heat probably is, the biggest thing. And then, just game speed-wise, just getting used to it.
Now, we had a productive 4 years at Boise State, broke some records your senior year. Just what do you think you'll bring to this offense, or what could you bring to this offense?
Just trying to be a playmaker, in Cliff's offense, just, strong hands, go across the middle, try to make those type of plays. And, whenever the ball comes my way, well, our old receiver coach always told me, when you get those big play opportunities, they rarely come, in the game. So try to make the most of it, make that play.
What stands out the most to you about Cliff's offense so far?
I just, it's a lot of options, like you said, it's just, it's a different offense, more of an offense, I think I've ran previously, but not, like you said, at Boise State. But I like it, though, a lot.
Now, when it comes to learning from a guy like David Rye and Jerry Sullivan, I always tell players, if you can't learn from Jerry Sullivan, maybe that's on the player. But what have you been able to learn from those two guys?
Just, with Larry, like I said, he's been in the game for so long. He has an eclipse. He's coached a lot of great wide receivers. I think he was with Anquan Bolden and Larry when they were both younger. So, that right there just shows, the respect that he has in the room, when he goes up there and talks, we're all listening. And so I think that's pretty cool, just to learn from a guy that has knowledge like that. And then Coach Rod, like you said, he's just a real energy bust, like you said, happy guy. So he's, like you said, you're never going to be bored in that type of meeting. They're always going to make sure like you're locked in, they quiz you, call you out on something just to make sure that so it's engraved. So I think like that two combo right there is actually a great combo.
I was watching some highlights of you, and I'm glad you mentioned Anquan Bolden because I covered Anquan, not comparing the player, but I think you got similar traits. 6'2", 212 pounds. Obviously, you got the body type. Do you remember when he was playing in the NFL with the Cardinals and a couple other teams?
Most definitely. I think Boise State, what I used to do a lot when I was, like I said, just there watching film, I'd always ask for like wide receivers, that I thought kind of, I can play like. So I always, like I said, Anquan Bolden, Larry Fitzgerald, like Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, like those type of guys, Mike Thomas, So just, seeing them, and like you said, I definitely noticed Anquan for sure.
What is it like for you now being in the same room as Larry Fitzgerald, a guy that you said you've watched tape on and try to model your game after?
It's definitely, like you said, it is like, I ain't gonna lie, like I ain't tell nobody, but first day you thinking like, hey, I'm with Larry Fitzgerald, like.
I think that's pretty common around the room.
Yeah, so but it's just like you don't want to show it and all, so I'm like, all right, I'm playing cool, like, but just if you really, every time I go home, I always just think like, bro, like you in the room with Larry Fitzgerald and all that, but it's pretty cool though. So I actually like.
And what you can learn from him too.
Most
what
definitely,
you can pick up from him as an ultimate pro.
I think going on what 15, 16 years. 16. Yeah, so you can most definitely, he's been there. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been there. So he just knows what he's doing.
Speaking of Fitz, but I mean, you mentioned that you were kind of in awe, but when you watch him practice, Coach said he's either playing for a roster spot, which we know he's going to make the roster, or he's looking for more money for food, which is being facetious. But when you watch him practice, you got to see that there's a reason why this guy's going to the Hall of Fame.
Most definitely, like you said, I think he sets a standard for the receivers. Like you said, at year 16, you're out there running full speed, diving for footballs and all that. So that right there just shows, we see that like, all right, like this dude works hard. So, we like I said, we try to be like that. We want to all be in Larry's shoes. So, like I said, we strive to be that way.
All right, let's talk a little bit about your days at Boise State. Just a great college atmosphere. I mean, I haven't had a chance to be out at a game like that, but what did you learn most about from yourself during your college career?
Just overcoming adversity, really. I think Boise State, I think Coach Harsin and them did a great job with that. They always teach you, it's never going to go, you're never going to have a golden path, really. I mean, some people do, but like I said, it's not like other than that, you're going to have to work for, you're going to have to put in that work. So I think just, just putting in extra work, like studying your techniques or making sure you know your plays, Boise's known for being smart football players, like, just making sure you earn your role, play your role, star in your role. So I think Harsin did a great job with that.
It sounds like you've done a good job of just over-exceeding expectations. So how will that help you at this level of play in the NFL?
Like I said, just honing in, don't change it up. Like you said, I feel like at Boise State, they gave you kind of like they're prepping you for all these tools, the real world and the real life. So I think, I was actually blessed to be able to go over that. And so just try to, when, like I said, situations come up, just think back like of how you did it over there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, before we let you go, did you realize you're going to be here like 10 hours a day?
Honestly, rookie life.
Honestly, I did not.
Next year at this time, and hopefully you're in the NFL, it's going to be a lot different. So now that you're going to get some downtime and you want to keep yourself in shape, what are your plans before training camp?
Probably go to Dallas, to see my two best friends out there. And then other than that, going right back to LA to be to go train, So just to get right, I'm excited for this training camp, just want to, put my all out there.
All right, well, best of luck. We look forward to seeing you in training camp.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, AJ.
Yeah.
We're broadcasting from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center in our Bose QC35s. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Arizona Cardinals podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts. AJ's a cool guy.
Yeah, he really is. And, it's tough for these guys. The fact is, the 6th and 7th round comes around and, agents start, calling teams. But hey, listen, that's all you can ask for, an opportunity. I'm sure it was a dream come true to hear his name, but he's got an opportunity. That's all you really can ask for in life. And, the good news is we're going to chance to see him in preseason because there's only one cut down. So we're going to see a lot of these guys, maybe they may not make the 53, but they pop on film and maybe another team brings them in for a tryout.
It's all about that tape.
Yeah, and the eye in the sky doesn't lie. But, hopefully for him, he's trying to work for a 53-man roster spot. But if not, maybe he's a guy you put on the practice squad and you try to develop over the next year or so.
Yeah, and tomorrow, I believe, is their last day here at the facility. They've been here an extra 2 weeks, and really they've been nonstop since their season ended, even before. They're training for their final season in college ball, to the combine, to workouts, the draft. I mean, they've been nonstop, so they're going to get a little break here, which is good for the mind.
Yeah, I don't feel sorry for them though, because listen, they've been patted on the back, Lisa, since last football season. Then they go on this banquet circuit, and then they go on these visits, and they get wined and dined, steak dinners, and then they get drafted, and it's like,
I'm trying to put the human
I understand.
element,
I understand.
so we, the viewer.
No, I get it, but I'm just, listen, you see it.
It's part of it.
Guys from year 1 to 2, there's a maturity factor.
Absolutely.
They know what it's like to be a pro. So this is part of being in this position, and now they know what it's like. It's a job, and it's a business, and so I'm sure they're looking forward to some downtime.
Now, before we get into some of your questions via social media, a video popped up yesterday on Kyler Murray's IG stories. Don't know if you've seen it yet, but
did that happen during the show the other day? Oh, that was yesterday.
No, it was before they all went out
to
the D-backs game. A little healthy competition here versus Kyler Murray and Andy Isabella. Take a look. All right, so I asked Murray, I said, who won, first of all? He said himself. They're neck and neck here. It's a 20-yard dash. It's not a 40.
Okay.
But look at the speed they're catching. I mean, Andy was the second fastest 40 at the combine,
I believe so. What, a 4.31?
4.31 officially. But yeah.
Murray has yet to run a 40.
Yeah. Well, here's 20 of it.
Okay, so if you want to break it down, watch how Murray gets out of the break right here. So he's got a jump right here. This is great B-roll for you. So he's got the jump, and I don't know if Andy's not taking him serious, but you got to give Isabella, because he's got some closing speed right here.
He does.
Where he's able to lower his body frame and get caught up to him. And I do think Murray edges him with a nose, though.
And I do love how when it speeds up right here, he's looking at Murray
Smiling.
and smiling.
Right.
This guy has so much speed, yet he looks flawless doing it as well.
Yeah,
so.
see,
That's not me running.
It's
just to let you know.
by a nose, and I can't wait for Murray. I know he's going to get hit. It's going to happen, but because of his speed and his savviness when it comes to being a baseball player, he's going to be able to slide, get out of bounds. I can't wait to watch him rip off a 40-yard touchdown.
Yes. All right, let's get into some of these questions. Thanks for sending them in from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. First one coming from Facebook. This is from David Voss. He wants to know, how will the Cardinals use running back Chase Edmonds this season?
Well,
good question.
I think it is a good question. I think David Johnson clearly is going to be the bell cow, but you need two in this league. I think Chase is a great change of pace guy. Sometimes you can't see him behind the line of scrimmage, whether in the shotgun or not. He's also good in the flat, maybe in the screen game. So I hope at some point, I mean, they got weapons, but maybe we'll see two running backs on the field at the same time. Maybe Chase is in the backfield and David's as a wide receiver, but I think he has a role. Unfortunately, David's going to be the bell cow, though.
The next one coming from Dale Shepard wants to know, what do you think about the talk of shortening the preseason game schedule?
Yes. Well, I think the NFL is going to add an extra game or two, so we could go to an 18-game schedule. So that means 2 bye weeks. I think
2 preseason games, in my opinion.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about team giving up revenue. I think 3 is perfect because at the end, we're still looking at the last 5 to 8 guys make the roster. But I think if you have one home preseason game in a row and you have a joint practice against another team, to me, that's just as beneficial as a preseason games.
Yeah,
So
they get tired of going up against themselves, so they need that competition on the other side.
if they reduce the preseason, they're going to add regular season games, which means more money for the players. And that also means the Super Bowl probably wouldn't happen until week 2 of the February. Usually it's the first Sunday in February.
All right, this one coming from Henry Mendoza. How many wins do you guys predict? I hate to do this. I'm very superstitious. I will not predict because last time I didn't end so well.
Well,
so.
I mean, it's
hard to say.
I mean, we don't know who the quarterbacks are going to be.
We have some fans chiming in saying 6, 7.
The Vegas has them at 5.5, 6. But I mean, it's the NFL. I mean, there's teams go from worst to first. I just want to see this team be competitive. I want to see improvement. I want to see excitement, and that means more wins. So, is it 6 or 7? Get to 7, or 8 wins, and then try to get in December and sneak in. But it's going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But I do think we're going to see a much better football team in all 3 facets.
And take care of games at home. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, only 1 win at home. The first 3 out of 4 at home. Only 1 division game. You got to take care of business. Protect the nest. That's what the fans got to do.
Protect the nest. All right, Elijah Hemingway Sr. from Facebook wants to know, how do you think Isabella is going to help this offense? We just saw him, the speedster out there, racing Murray. So how do you think this can help the offense overall?
No, I think he's going to have a role here. I don't know how many catches he's going to get. He's not going to catch Larry Fitzgerald or Christian Kirk or David Johnson. He may have 25, 30 catches, but the fact that him being on the field and he's part of the future when it comes to that position, hey, sky's the limit. He's got the speed. He's got to become a better route runner. He's got to secure the football. It's going to be a lot different from what he did in college, but he does have a bright future. But I don't want to put too many high expectations. If he catches 30 balls and a couple touchdowns, I would be happy.
Louis Cruz, will Kyler set a record this season for most rushing yards in a season?
I hope not. You don't want him running.
No.
And the record's over 1,000 yards. I'd be happy with 500 or 600 yards. I mean, you listen, this is not RG3. You got to protect yourself. You don't want to put yourself in harm's way. I always say it's okay to punt in this league, live for another possession, get out of bounds, but I hope he doesn't have 1,000 yards. I want those yards to go to David Johnson.
And I think we talked about it on Monday a little bit in some of the superlatives, just the misconception of this offense we really didn't get to. What is your biggest misconception that you think this offense has?
Well, we don't use the word air raid in the building, and that's more Hal Mummy back in the day and Mike Leake, where they throw the football 60 to 70 times. They're not going to do that. You can't do that in the NFL. You will not survive in the NFL. So that if there's a misconception or nomer, they're not going to throw the ball. Kingsbury in college ran the ball. He threw it 55%, ran it 45%. They average 140 yards on the game per game on the ground. So this nomer, well, they're going to throw it every down. That's not happening.
No. And I asked Cliff what he wants to call his offense. He doesn't have a name. He doesn't want to put a name to it.
Well, they haven't played it down yet in the NFL.
Right. So he's like, I'll leave it to other people. And that's the smart answer.
Oh, sure.
But everyone calls it an air raid. So I was wondering, what do you want to call this? If you don't want to call it the air raid, what is it?
We can't. That's like a swear word around here.
I know.
The air
it's
raid.
not the air raid. So we had a fan actually tweet you. What did he call it? The red raid.
Red raid. Get, the Red Birds, the Red Sea. How about K-Raid?
K-Raid. I like it. Fans send
For
in.
Kyler Raid. Now, it's not just going to be the raid. It's going to be the RPOs. It's going to be the zone read. It's going to be the pistol. How about we just call it Desert Breeze?
Desert Breeze. That kind of sounds like a youth football camp park.
No, because hopefully we're scoring at will, and it's just a Desert Breeze taking us in the end zone.
All right, we have Scott Sullivan on Facebook saying he likes the K-Raid. He likes that, so you got
K-Raid.
to vote for that.
Thank you.
Some others come in, and I'm sure we'll get plenty.
Can't call it the run and shoot. Can't call it the greatest show on turf because they played on grass.
Taken. All right. Well, that's
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. We want to see what you guys would like.
Because until we see this offense, it's
Red
gonna
Monsoon from Dale Shepard, another top fan.
Monsoon, that means it's a storm. We don't need that.
Okay. We're really picky, aren't we?
No, I mean, first of all, at the end of the day, we're not going to pick it. Hopefully the fans do, though.
That's true.
And when this offense starts rolling, it's going to be very exciting.
Hopefully the national media
I'm glad you brought that up because I know at Cardinals we don't have a lot of national games, but I think besides the primetime games, the Patriots and Steelers and obviously the Chiefs and we got those doubleheader on Monday night, the Thursday night game, the Sunday night game. I think besides the primetime games, the Cardinals and Kyler Murray could be one of the most watched team. The afternoon game, highlights, Sports Center. I mean, Murray.
People want to know. People want to know what this offense is going to look like and what he's going to look like at the NFL level.
Exactly.
Murray.
It's the curiosity factor. It's like you're driving home and there's a car accident. You want to see what's happening.
Right.
So
hopefully it's not a car wreck.
No, I'm just saying, people are curious.
Yes.
And I think and he's going to be up for Rookie of the Year. I mean, because he touches the ball every play. Yeah, a running back can win it like Saquon Barkley, a wide receiver. But so fantasy-wise, I mean, he's going to get drafted because he's a dual threat. So I think the eyeballs will be on the Cardinals and Murray in the first month of the season because we know what Chip Kelly and Steve Spurrier did. They kind of failed after the first year. So it'll be interesting to see how much publicity they get.
National attention. We have Michael Henry on Facebook saying 2K raid for Kyler and Cliff.
Kyler's K1, Kingsbury's K2. Yeah.
K2.
K1 and K2.
Nah.
Let's just go with K-Raid.
All right. That's what you want. Let's see what the fans want.
No, listen, the more the merrier.
The more the merrier. Thanks for sending in your questions for the Bird Gang Sound Off. That wraps up our Wednesday edition of Cards Cover 2. MJ, thanks for having me this week.
Oh, it was a pleasure. They got to do it again. When's Grillo coming back?
I don't know.
No,
but tomorrow. Friday. Friday
okay.
show. Tune in, same place.
Okay, he'll be back this week.
He'll be back. But thanks for letting me hang with you. And, of course, the fans, thanks for being a part of today's show. And a special thanks to Tim Delaney, Jim Omohundro, Devin Henry, Jackson Sipes, Grant Greeley, and, of course, you, Mike Jurecki. I'm Lisa Matthews. We'll see you next time on Cards Cover 2.